Hi, and welcome back to the More Than a Business live show. My name is Mitch Case, and I am going to be your host today. I'm also the founder and CEO at More Than a Meal, where we like to work with organizations to help them strengthen their most valued relationships through gratitude and appreciation, doing that at one meal at a time. And I got to thank our sponsor, True Captive, for being a huge part of making this happen. If you haven't heard of True Captive, amazing individuals over there, but they truly believe that healthcare is a personal, that healthcare is actually personal and that insurance isn't complicated. So if you want to learn more about True Captive and just their team, go on over to www.truecaptive.com and you can learn a ton more from that. And I started this show with the intent to really highlight individuals. I spent a lot of time in the construction industry and engineering industry, and now I've switched over to more of business owners and human resources and employee engagement side. And I just recognized it was time to really highlight these individuals that come into their place of work, whether they own the place or serve the organization, to truly make a safe place, an equitable place, a desired place to work. And they're working hard every single day to make that happen. So it's time that we get to highlight those individuals. And we've been blessed to have so many amazing individuals provide some great insight to that, as well as some amazing initiatives as well. And our next guest is nothing short of that as well. I am very, very excited to have Chris Eckles on this show. Chris is proficient. She is a proficient expert in developing, implementing, and evaluating diverse programs for children and adults. She is a certified volunteer administrator and serves as the chief engagement officer. I absolutely love that, of Blank Park Zoo, and she's been there for almost 12 years now. Her expertise really enables her to effectively recruit, train, and supervise the individuals that come to work at the zoo. Yes, it takes more than just animals to make that work. So she's there ensuring that they is a place and roles that align with both the needs and what the zoo has required of them. So without further ado, I am excited to welcome Chris to the show. Chris, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right. I know we've already had a couple conversations prior to this, but I love starting this off with just an impact story. Stories are what grabs people's hearts. So maybe tell us a little bit about some sort of impact that you or the zoo has had on a team member, a colleague, or maybe even potentially some of the individuals that come to the zoo to visit.
Sure. Well, we just recently came to light. We had a volunteer that recently passed away. So not to put a bummer on things, but what it did help bring to light and kind of help us understand again is how much the zoo means to the community and to everyone, and what volunteers mean to our staff and to the connections that the other volunteers make with each other. So this person volunteered with us since 2017 and was just a light for us. Just one of the sweetest women you've ever met. Connected. I knew her and I had a connection, and I could see her connections with others. But then what I found out during this process of us celebrating her life and making cards and all that sort of stuff is the notes, and knowing how she really even our security guard was sad that she was gone, and wow. how he was affected. So just that how the zoo can bring people together, and you just never know what connections they're going to have and what it's going to mean to everybody. And we're a place that people come when they volunteer. They're giving their time, right? They don't have to be here when they're volunteering. They don't get a paycheck. She always referred to this as her happy place. And she gave everything she could, really. And she's going to be really missed. It's going to be a hole. But I think that impact that she made on us, I want to make sure we continue that. And I want to, even though I'm sad that she's gone, I want to make sure I keep her memory going with that. So it's kind of a sad thing, but also there's a joy in there, I think, if you can look at the silver lining of it all.
Man, I just think of, everybody, when we go to whatever is next for us after we leave this earth, like we all talk about what's the legacy that we want to live, and to have you and many other people want to still celebrate this individual because not only of her gift of time that she gave, but even it sounds like her soul and spirit and just positive vibes to not just impact probably several of those zoo goers, but down to the individuals that you wouldn't think from a security guard. Like, how often I probably sees them every day, but how often do you say hi to that individual? Well, sounds like what an amazing opportunity for us to just learn, like, you can make such a huge impact in such a short amount of time with just showing general respect to an individual. So, wow, man, I'm sorry to hear that you guys lost such an amazing individual in that sense. But yeah, like you said, what an amazing like ripple effect that individual is going to have throughout some time. So, wow, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I do. Not to like segue out of that, because I do want to like we are going to bring it back a little bit.
Right.
And I did forget to mention, so if you're watching this live, let us know where you're watching from, and in the comments if you have any questions for Chris as we go throughout the show today. We definitely want to try and get those answered, and if we don't, we'll make sure to get those responded to as we go along. But Christine, Chris, it's Chris. Let's talk about the zoo itself. What are some maybe initiatives that you guys have included to maybe core values or mission statements, or even the culture you're trying to build? Because I imagine, you're a unique individual in the sense that most of everybody else I've talked with, people are coming in because they're getting paid. How do you get people to come in when they're not being paid? Interesting on that side. But let's talk about like what makes Blank Park Zoo more than a business. What is it about that zoo that truly creates a place that people want to come to?
Sure. So our mission here at the zoo is to inspire an appreciation of the natural world through conservation, education, research, and recreation. So that's what we're here for, and that's what everything we do kind of put through that lens. And with my job as the chief engagement officer, so I'm over the engagement team, which oversees conservation, volunteers, and education programs. And I always say that we're the department that makes the mission come alive. So we're going out and making sure that in our zoo, inside the zoo, we want to make sure we have educators out there connecting with, and volunteers out there connecting you to the otters or the red pandas and telling you their stories, building that empathy up. And you're learning the names of the animals and maybe a favorite food. And it's always fun to see a kid go, I eat that too. Like the cassowary is really scary looking bird.
Yes.
Eats this thing, eats watermelon. So do I. And I'm, so that connection there. We go out to the community, and we're the only accredited zoo in Iowa. So we try to travel as much through Iowa as we can and go to libraries and schools and nursing homes and things like that to make that impact. And so we're always just trying to get out there, because we really believe that if we can get our guests or our community to really love the environment and love the animals that they see and make that connection and build that empathy, then hopefully they'll want to join us in that conservation world and make a difference. And maybe they recycle, or maybe they turn off the lights when they leave a room, or maybe they plant a pollinator garden. Maybe they put like just a couple plants together and say, this is going to be for the hummingbirds or for bees or for butterflies. Because I learned that at the zoo, because I had a good time when I was there. I connected with somebody, and now I get to go do something. So that taking the action is really important to us.
Interesting. All right. So it's more than like just coming, like we go to the zoo at Kansas City all the time, and we're showing up because we want to see the lions and the elephants, and there's a new aquarium opening up here literally in a couple weeks that everybody is, I'm trying to get there. Like, do I go early? Do I go late? I'll figure it out. But it's more so about the impact that you can have outside of the zoo is what it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Conservation is so much more about it. We all love the animals, and that's kind of what brought us here, or what, why we're here to see that. But it's about people. And so if you don't have the people buy-in, then the animals aren't gonna, they're not gonna magically have a safer environment around them or have good habitat just because they want it. We as people, we're helping to take care of the earth and take care of our own natural environment around us. So we have to, and sometimes the best way to do that is just having that up close personal encounter with an animal to go, that was so cool. Now what can I do?
Yeah. Wow. Well, I kind of want to hit on the volunteer side of things, and maybe actually I'm going to ask a question I don't know the answer to. Would you say like you have a lot of younger individuals, teenagers that are kind of helping. Maybe they're working in high school or something along those lines. Is that a lot of volunteers or workers that you hire through this?
Yeah, I would say that the younger generation is definitely important to all this. We do have a teen volunteer program called Zoo Crew. So it's
Okay.
for 13 to 17-year-olds to get that idea of and then they might have a love for animals. They might think they want to be a zookeeper or a vet or an educator down the road. So this is an opportunity for them to test it out to see if that's what they really want to do. They could have grown up in our camp program and just, this is the next thing, the next step to kind of keep them busy during the summer. With Zoo Crew, we're trying to build that next generation of conservationists, but also a good workforce that understands what it is, to understand your mission of your organization and want to work for that cause and we always say do what you love and you'll never work a day, that type of thing, right? Which true, sometimes true and sometimes a little harder.
I think I've said it on this before too, is there's a mentor of mine that told me like this saying of do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life is a complete lie, because he absolutely loves coffee, but there are some days he wants to burn this thing to the ground because he's tired of it. But he did say, if you do something that you're good at and you really enjoy what you are doing, you're going to be able to endure those really challenging days.
Yeah.
I kind of want to hit, just because you're one of the first guests that we've had, in the sense that you're working with the next workforce that's coming up. I don't even know what generation Gen Z is in the workforce. Are they still part of Gen Z, or what is their?
They have Gen Z as like kind of our we still have Gen Zs. They're like our zookeeper, some of our zookeepers, some of our seasonal staff, and then I think the next generation's Alpha, I think is what I heard. So
Alpha. Okay, we'll go with Alpha for now.
Our Zoo Crew.
Okay, so Alpha, you are working with individuals, and maybe specifically with like Zoo Crew. You're working with individuals that have zero idea of what work culture is. They're like, you're just getting ingrained in this. Like, what are some things that you are doing with the zoo to make sure that they have an enjoyable time, that they want to come back and do this again next summer, or that they don't walk in day one and be like, I'm out, this is not, like, I didn't feel welcome. What are some of the things that you're doing to make this new generation coming through, Alpha generation, to be ready?
Sure. So we do like trainings and things like that. So we get them on site and we try to go through like, what's a typical shift look like? What's when you're doing when you're working with a guest. So if they work at the train area, this is what it is. We'll go down to the train, meet the people that work in that area, that kind of thing, and then we try to practice that. Mm-hmm. And then what we try to do also is let them have ownership of their schedule. So me and my staff, we don't schedule them. We give them a schedule that they can sign up for, and that works for their schedule. Because we get kids that they're everywhere and everything, right? So we want to make sure that they can connect with us, but then also have the summer and do the family vacations and get a job and at another place that they choose, or whatever, go to the sports, all the things that they're involved in, right? So it's understanding how to help them balance their time, how to have responsibility, so that they're responsible for signing up, for coming, and then when they're here, to be here, really. And then so we try to check on them throughout the day, saying hi to them and letting the staff know it's not just me or my staff that work with the teens, it's all of us. Like, it takes all of us to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing and that they feel welcome. So empowering our guest service staff, our keepers, our educators, our CEO, to go around and just say hi and ask questions and let them know, smile at them, because sometimes they are a little nervous, and especially if it's their first time doing anything where they have to show up on their own and sign in for their time, and then and sometimes they have training in June, but they don't come till July. So did I remember everything?
There's a gap there. Yeah.
So
I still have that issue as an adult.
So it's really empowering all of our staff with any of our volunteers, teens or adults, that they're not my volunteers, they're the organization's volunteers. And when we can all take responsibility for that and greet them and be nice and give them information and appreciate them and show appreciation by just saying thank you for coming today, we appreciate your time, and can say volumes and make the kids and adults feel a little more comfortable about being here.
Yeah. One of the things you said early on was just like, even just as simple as walking through and making sure you smile at somebody can change that person's day a little bit. I do want to ask you a question, and this is, based off of like all the different generations you're working with, especially as like chief engagement officer. It's a hot topic in the workplace right now where there are several generations, and you can't treat the generation that's working on retirement the same as the generation that's coming in, and you even have an additional generation that you're probably working with. Like, how do you maybe give us some insights on tips or tricks or something along those lines that you've that has helped you, and how you engage differently with each of these different generations, because one size definitely is not going to fit all.
No. Yeah, it can be daunting, I think, for sure.
I'm overwhelmed right now thinking of it.
But I think you have to remember people that everybody's, people are people, right? And what do we all want? We want to be seen. We want to be heard, no matter what our ages are, and we want to be valued, I think. So if I was just trying to keep that in my back of my mind is, treating people how I want to be treated type of thing. So taking that time to listen to what they're saying, and then trying not to have judgment on it is, something you have to constantly remind myself of, and say, this is their perspective. So as an older generation, that they're going to have boomers are going to have different generational perspective than the Gen Z or Gen Xer. So what is that? And kind of check myself, and what I've been trying. I watched a lot of Ted Lasso. So that's
still one I've been told 1,000 times, especially as the main actor, really from KC. I have not watched that yet, so I know.
I do recommend
I need to.
That curiosity, though, like going at things of it. That's what I kind of keep trying to remember myself is, instead of making assumptions or judgments on things, how can I go about asking the questions with curiosity? So and I feel like I get better answers that way, that I can understand. And then you're kind of taking down the defenses, so people don't get defensive with trying to prove why they're right. It's just, okay, just explain it to me so I can hear what you're saying. What's the lesson I have to learn in this type of thing? Be curious, not judgmental.
It's amazing how much you can learn just by asking that question of like, how do you want this to happen? Or how do you perceive this? Like, I know from me, I've been trying to learn like individual things about some of my team members or even some of my clients, so that I can better individualize the way that I care for that individual. Because again, not one size fits all. I love that. Now, we're going to kind of transition into what motivates you a little bit. But before we do that, I know there is an event coming up at the zoo that I was going to let you maybe talk about that, because it sounds like something that a mom and dad of 3 kids that can go find a babysitter might want to participate in. Or is it still kid friendly? You tell me, but I'm going to let you talk a little bit about what that upcoming event is.
Sure. We have a couple. Well, we can do both. So we have Safari Soiree, which is our version of a gala. So yeah, if you're looking for a nice night out and you want to go to a gala but not dress up in black tie, come to our zoo's Safari Soiree. You can find out on our Blank Park Zoo's website, blankparkzoo.com. More information on how to buy tickets. It's, you're not sitting at a table eating a dinner and listening to an auctioneer. We try to do it a little differently here. You get to walk around, see the animals, have fun food all around, and the silent auction, and just and we have staff and volunteers ready to kind of give you really insider knowledge about the zoo and what we're trying to do, and raise money for the zoo basically. And and then if you do want to bring the kids to the zoo in October, we've got our Night Eyes event. So that's a fun time to dress up in costumes and come to the zoo, get some candy, and see some zoo characters, and go to the fun zone and just have a fun time with your family. So we got both.
All right. Well, I'll be sure to kind of put that. I'll try to remember to put that in a comment in the link for this live show. Sure. For that coming up. I know for my wife and I, anytime we get a chance to get out of the house, maybe get a babysitter and have a sip of wine. And I mean, it sounds like a safari soiree. Is that what it is?
Yeah, Safari Soiree.
So, I mean, I've never drank wine with a lion, but that might be an interesting twist to that plot. Well, let's talk more about you, Chris, and what truly like motivates you every single day. Because obviously, like we just talked about, like it's not necessarily if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. Because we just talked about there are some days that I don't love what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about what continues to motivate you day in and day out to continue to show up to serve the individuals, the zoo crew, from the alpha generation all the way to those that are volunteering because they just want to spread good vibes and have a place that they can go. So let's talk more about like what continues to motivate you day in and day out.
I think growing up, I was always my mom always talked about taking initiative. And so that was kind of, how do you spell it? How do you do it? And I still can't spell it, but don't sit back and just let the world happen to you, or around you. But what are you going to do that's going to create, hopefully a good change? Especially if you see something that's not sitting well with you, like, well, how are you gonna act, right? And so somebody else is gonna do it. So that was big growing up for me, and she always tried to make sure that she put me in those situations where I could take initiative, and whether I liked it or not.
I was just in the back of my mind, I saw something the other day that just talks about the best thing I can do is put my children outside their comfort zone in that sense. And like echoing that, the best thing I can do for myself is put myself outside my comfort zone. So that was just echoing in my ear. Go ahead, Chris.
So, and then just, I think sometimes I kind of like sit back and go, oh, I'm not the leader of this, but then somehow always something happens. They're like, hey, Chris, can you take the lead on this one? Or how about this project? And I'm like, oh, why? But I think because I see something and I want to fix it, or I want to make it better. And so I grew up in Girl Scouts. So it's that motto of make the world a better place. If you see something or you're there and you use something, make it better than how you found it. So those things are truly always in the back of my head of like, how can I make the world a better place? How can I make the thing I'm at better? Not that it's bad, but where can I leave that mark of, I was here and I helped push this initiative forward. And sometimes they continue and sometimes they don't, and that's totally fine. But how am I making that impact in my job and hopefully impacting the people that I'm working with? I've worked with kids for a long time. I was a camp counselor in parks, and I'm sure there's stories out there that I don't even know of a person I hopefully made some kind of impact on, hopefully a good impact on, and they were able to grow up and take that with them. And I hope that's true for every job that I was at, that somebody was like, yep, that was fun working with Chris, and I learned this from her, and that's really kind of what motivates me, is how can I kind of have that ripple effect on wherever I am at the time. Because if I'm upset by something, sitting back and be like, oh, I wish somebody would fix this, or how can I either motivate myself or others around me to.
I heard just a lot through what you were talking about, is just your vision and outlook on the fact that maybe I don't impact this person today, but maybe down the road, what I've said, what I did, planted a seed that sticks with them. And maybe you never know about that. And there's also a saying that I absolutely love, is the best compliment I've ever received was when I was not in the room. And what it is that people say about us behind our backs can be really that true definition, in my opinion, of like what makes a really good leader and what obviously makes a really bad leader. And the ability to have, it's always amazing when you hear those stories of how what you did, what you said, how you reacted does, but we don't always get to see that piece of it. So knowing that, I'm taking that away right now, is that I have every single interaction I have had the opportunity to maybe not make that true impact in the moment, but maybe something that resonated, maybe even this video 2 years down the road, Chris, someone's like, I watched this weird thing and they said, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day. I hope that is something that we can truly portray through even my own leadership. And obviously it is working already with your leadership, and just the story you said about the woman that has passed away, unfortunately. So I absolutely love that. Well, we are definitely getting to the end of the show here. And before I did that, Macy, commented, I'm pretty sure this was talking about drinking wine with lions. So if Macy wants to go and check that out, I'll let her reach out and maybe have some wine with some lionesses or lions at that point. But Chris, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you spending this time talking about what truly has made the work that you do motivational, as well as what the zoo is doing to be truly more than a business in a space that helps the young generation of alpha generation come up into this workforce, to supporting those that are retired or about to retire. Like, you have such a wide breadth of individuals that you get to make an impact, and hopefully a ripple effect down the road. And just from our short conversation, I know that is already happening. But because I appreciate that, we want to make sure that we can send out a meal to one of your team members that would benefit from a meal for whatever reason. So do you have somebody in mind that you think might be a good candidate to receive this meal, and why?
Sure. So I'd like to nominate my friend Shannon McKinney. She used to work here at the zoo, and she's one of my good friends now. We met here.
Okay.
She's, a confidant. She helps keep me on track when I feel like I'm getting a little overwhelmed. She helps give me perspective. But she was in the animal care world, and then she decided to move on and stay with the animal care type of thing, but really helping coach people to be better, and show up to their jobs better, to show up for their organization, to show up for their animals, and really looking at how we are leaders and taking care of our mental health. And she started a whole business off of that with some other great individuals called Great. So her organization is called Grays. And I'm just so proud of her because she took a big leap.
Okay.
And, but yeah, I think she's someone that maybe you should talk to also.
Yeah. I'm interested in hearing her story for sure. So make sure you get us connected there. But yeah, so let's definitely make sure that we get that out to her, and definitely look forward to doing that. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. If anybody wanted to reach out to you for the Safari Soiree, to hearing more about volunteer opportunities, or just in general to say, hey, you did this, how does it work? I've got a similar, what's the best way for somebody to reach out to you?
Probably the easiest way is as a volunteer at blankparkzoo.com is my email. Or
.net.
.net.
There it is.
Volunteer at blankparkzoo.net is my very easy email to get to me at.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you can come on LinkedIn, send me a message. That's fine too. Just say where you found me from, so I don't think you're a spammer.
Yeah. If you guys want her info, I'd be happy to get you guys connected via email or LinkedIn. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's really a neat perspective to see just that how many different generations that you do get to serve. And with that, I am excited to have our next guest next week, again, Thursdays, 3 p.m. Central Time, every single week. We look forward to just the conversations, again, celebrating and highlighting those individuals just like Chris and the Blank Park Zoo and the work that they do. Next week, we've got Amy Skiles coming on. I'm excited to dive deep in just her journey and what truly makes their business more than a business. But until next time, I appreciate it. Go check out True Captive at www.truecaptive.com. And until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful week.